What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Terror Table, a horror movie podcast that is presented by the Saskatchewan Podcast Network. My name is Mitch. I'm one of your regular hosts here every single week, and who do I have with me today?
Oh, you got Kyle with you today.
And you got Buzi.
Hell yeah, we got the whole gang. The whole gang's here. This is our first episode of 2021. So I know that we took a week or so off at the beginning of the year. We want to give you guys time to get through that 3-hour episode that we put out. So yeah, we're back, and we decided to kick things off with a film that we missed in 2020, and that is Josh Rubin's Scare Me. So we'll be talking about that in the main feature. I just want to give a shout out to Elio, listener and buddy of ours. He sent in an email that we're going to be reading in the main feature because it directly speaks about the film. So it'd make more sense to read it at that point. Fair. But we're going to do our normal thing where we're going to talk about everything that we've seen and or watch, or like everything we've seen or read or played, whatever. Everything's fair game as long as it's semi in the horror genre. But before we get on to all that, I just want to let everyone know that today we announced our first official merchandise. We are releasing a line of t-shirts that were designed by our good friend Jambi, Jesse Sawitsky. We talk about him all the time on the show.
Big cutie.
Absolutely. He's the drummer of the punk band Swayze that we talk about a lot. We talk about Jesse a lot because he thought American Vandal was real. But he's not always that dumb. He is an incredible artist, and it's been great watching him grow. And this piece of art just speaks volumes as to his craft paying off because, man, is it beautiful. He did a beautiful Jaws-inspired Terror Table shirt for us.
So cool.
Yeah, we are thrilled.
Awesome. You killed it, man.
Yeah, it's so good. So we can't wait to get that on shirts. We're already talking with our screen printing company who's going to make them up for us. So if you are interested in getting a piece of Terror Table merchandise to help with the show or to just have some fresh swag, send us an email or a direct message on our Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. You can also contact us on our website, which is theterrortable.com, where you'll find all of our backlogged episodes. That website has been being curated by our good friend John Allison of the Saskatoon Fantastic Film Festival. He's been doing a great job and helping out the show a lot.
So if there's anything like weird in there, that's on him.
Yeah. Well, we did find out. I don't know if you guys saw, but Alexis responded to our question. I don't know if we talked about this on our Best of the Year episode, but we were talking about OnlyFans and if you need to show nudity to be on OnlyFans, and I guess you don't need to.
Really?
So, yeah. I think Buzi,
we could be our OnlyFans.
Well, Buzi,
not have to show anything.
Everyone that I talked to, like I was on an episode of Cobwebs that I'm going to talk about. I was on it last night. It's coming out next week, I believe, or the week after. But I was talking with our good friend Daniel Epler of the Cobwebs podcast and Chris Hurtado of Inside the Sequel. And both of them even mentioned, they're like, we live for Buzi's Instagram story. And that's my boss went and followed you on Instagram, but he doesn't even really know you. I don't think you guys have met in real life.
No, we've met.
Oh, you have? Okay, cool. Yeah. But yeah, everyone loves your Instagram story. So what I'm thinking, Buzi, is you could do some major frog action on OnlyFans.
Oh, right.
You could take Flat Fuck Friday to a whole nother level.
I love that I could just get paid for stealing other people's content. Amazing. Greatest idea. But also in the summer, heavy frog catching will be happening.
We'll catch some frogs on our squatching adventure with Mitch Clark.
ASMR frog catching / being attacked by Squatch.
Absolutely. So it may sound like if this is your first time tuning in, it sounds like a bunch of nonsense. We apologize, but welcome to the Terror Table.
We are not on meth. These are all real things.
Yes. But so what I was just mentioning is I am a part of a 3-part series of podcasts. The first episode being on the Cobwebs feed. We are doing, me, Chris Hurtado, and Daniel Epler are doing our fantasy Oscars draft from the year 1990 up to the present year, or 2020 at least is where we're going to stop. We're dividing it into 10 years. We're doing decades for each episode. So our first episode is on the 90s. So we go through every single year and we choose what we would choose as our personal Oscar picks. So if you've listened to any of our shows, especially Chris Hurtado, the king of the hot takes, you will understand that it's not going to be your normal Oscars discussion. There might be some discussion of Pokemon or Dragon Ball Z. Might be some talk about Anaconda. I don't know. You might just have to tune in and check it out. Yeah,
a real grab bag.
Yeah, you really sprinkled some names in there for everybody.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun. Had such a good time with those guys. So keep an eye out for that on the Cobwebs feed, and then in a couple of weeks you're going to see one pop up on our feed. So hope you guys enjoy that. We've been having a blast doing it, so I'm looking forward to continuing that. But yeah, I think that's everything that I wanted to get out of the way. I think we can just get on to what we've been up to. So Kyle, do you want to lead us off? What have you been up to in the horror or semi-horror realm?
Well, first thing I wanted to actually mention that I just realized is we all wrote little like blurbs for the Feedback Society,
Right.
local
Okay.
website. And I think all of us mentioned at least something horror related in our write-ups, talking about our favorite films of the year and least favorite film of the year. So definitely go check that out because we all had kind of a different take and something interesting to say on that. All three of us are featured on there. So thanks to Craig and the
big
Feedback
thank you
Society
to
for
Craig.
doing that.
And
I also
awesome.
wanted to say, I want to shout out William Brent Bell. I think I'm becoming William Brent Bell's like #1 fan, low key. I'm not gonna
Here
lie.
we go.
What I love
Kyle
about
with the comeback.
what I love about that is that we were in talks with having him on the show. And I'm guessing he heard the following episode where we all just shit on Brahms the Boy too. But that's it's no disrespect to him. Like he's made some movies that we all love. Me and Buzi are big fans of Where?
100%. That is an incredible film.
Stay Alive.
Yeah, Kyle's watched Stay Alive more than any human on earth.
And I just want to say with William Brent Bell, if you're listening to this episode, which I assume you are, this is an open invitation. I know, maybe I don't know, wires got crossed previously. I don't know. Not
on the wrong foot.
I have a tough time believing that William Brent Bell's passion project was Brahms the Boy too. So he should be okay with a couple of guys just not being a fan of one of his movies.
Right.
And you know what? It's stuck in my head a lot, and I'm on behalf of the three of us and all the Terror Table, we are officially welcoming you on the show if you're listening. So please reach out. And if you want a t-shirt too, we'll figure that out.
Yeah, we'll cover that.
Anyways,
but cover it. I will ship it, but you'll have to pay for it.
Yeah,
we don't got that kind of money.
You get a shirt.
Yeah, no, it's a clout exchange.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyhow, I just thought of that right now. So yeah, you should check that out because myself, Mitch, and Buzi, we all wrote something for that website. So that's thefeedbacksociety.com. You can check that out.
Yeah, I want to say I didn't. Obviously, we didn't read each other's write-ups before it went up. So I had so much fun reading your guys' write-ups. Specifically Buzi's. I remember laughing my ass off at his worst of the year. Same with Kyle's worst of the year, obviously. But Buzi said something.
I was so salty, man. I was so salty when I wrote that.
What were you talking about? What movie was it?
UV Halloween.
Oh, right. Yeah. Jesus. But yeah, it's a great website.
I kind of don't want to because part of me wants to enjoy it, but I know I won't, so I'm just gonna let it.
Kyle, I'm gonna let you know that Buzi and I are in the minority for not liking Huey Halloween,
and I don't understand it. I have no fucking. I don't get it.
Pardon?
Do you think I'd like it?
Well, I don't know. No,
you'll laugh at the Harley Quinn joke like everybody else.
Yeah, the Harley Quinn joke is so good.
That carried that whole movie.
You know the film's good if the Harley Quinn joke is the best thing it's got going.
Yeah,
so.
It's gonna look great in 5 years.
There was another. I liked when he was always puking. there were moments of it. Like the first half hour, I was busting a gut laughing, but then the joke just wore off for me. We don't need to talk about Hubie Halloween anymore. We're in 2021. Let's move on, boys.
Fair enough. Okay, well, I'll kick it off here with a film from 2020 that I will talk about in 2021. This was a film that I didn't quite. I guess along with Scare Me, a film that I really wanted to check out last year, but only got the chance to recently. And this is actually a film that Mitch turned me on to, I don't even know, maybe half a year ago now, roughly. I don't know. Just kind of tell me hey, you should keep your eye out for this one. I think you'll really enjoy it. And that is Lawrence Michael Levine's Black Bear. So this isn't strictly a horror film. However, I think, fans of the genre who maybe are more into A24 type horror films, it comes at nights, Green Rooms, Hereditary,
drama horror.
Yeah, sure. I think if that's kind of your jam, you'll definitely get something out of this. And I've definitely seen people who are into the genre talking about Black Bear. Listener of the show, Lana, said it was her favorite film of the year. So anyhow, I think the listeners of the show will also enjoy it. It's hard for me to really dive into the story too much because it's very spoiler heavy, but it stars Aubrey Plaza, Sarah Gadon, and Christopher Abbott. And Christopher Abbott, of course, was in Possessor last year as well, if anyone's had the chance to check that one out as well from this past year. And they all give great performances. They're this kind of twisted love triangle that goes in multiple directions throughout the film. But it's like without a doubt the standard of the film is Aubrey Plaza giving her best performance of her career up until this point. I think we've talked about this before, maybe off the show, I don't know, but just how, we didn't really know Aubrey Plaza had it in her, but this is without a doubt an example of showcasing that even though she's kind of doing like a similar shtick she's done before, it is just like the most elevated version of that. And you could tell It's like, and not only is it like knowing like the director's knowing that like she can give this kind of performance, but she's definitely giving a lot of herself, and she's like pushing herself in this role, and it's really emotional to watch, and in many different ways. But I mean, I couldn't really say nothing but good things about this film, but again, I just don't want to get into the story too much. I would recommend going in as blind as you possibly could. If you've heard anything about this film up until this point, I'm sure people have said similar shit about it. It's just one of those spoiler heavy films. I know that at Sundance, when this film was premiered last year, they were even saying like, please don't talk about the movie. Like I think the director at a Q&A said like, just don't talk about it. Like, I want you to watch it, but like, I think it would just be better for everyone if we didn't talk about it, which is, I respect that. That.
And that's why I say, like, I also, like, if you can somehow avoid trailers for it, like, which should be pretty easy. Yeah, we're not spending time in theaters, but even the trailer, it gives away some stuff that, like, when I went into the film completely blind, like, absolutely blind. The only thing I knew about it was Aubrey Plaza was in it. We were watching it for the screening process for the Saskatoon Fantastic Film Festival. And I ended up fighting for this one really hard and got it to play. And it ended up being like a favorite of the festival for people. So I was very happy to hear that. But it is a movie that like, it really laid me out on my ass when I had no idea what I was in for. And it's just totally my kind of movie. Like, I would say it's also like, it's not a horror movie, but like Blue Valentine to me is a horror movie. Like just because it terrifies me and it cuts me deep. And Black Bear is similar, but it's a dark comedy. Like it like
is,
but it's dark, it's twisted, and it's just such a great movie about manipulation and relationships. And God, I'm so happy you liked it, Kyle. Because when I was watching it, I was like, I instantly thought of you. I was like, Kyle's gonna love this movie, and I'm so happy you did.
Yeah, and it's always nice to know that like when someone thinks that of yourself and you actually really enjoy the film too, and you're like, okay, good. Like I can report back and say this was a banger. And I found a funny thing when looking up this film a little bit was the director is like married to, or I don't know, engaged to the director of Black Christmas 2019, which I find interesting because like once you see this film, just knowing that the director and writer as well is in a relationship with a filmmaker and they're a filmmaker themselves, there's definitely kind of an interesting dynamic happening there, with how the story plays out. So anyway, yeah, that's Black Bear. It's not streaming anywhere that I know of, but it is on VOD. So you can rent it that way or check it out the best way you can. Yeah, definitely recommend this one.
I believe it's going to Amazon. I could be wrong, but I think it's going to be on Amazon if it's not already there. Like you can rent it on Amazon, I think. But yeah, awesome. Great. So that's Black Bear. Buzi, what have you been up to?
Guy, I have been all over Tubi the last little while, and I'm so excited to tell you all about it.
Yes.
Honestly, nobody told me that Third Rock from the Sun was on there, which I will not talk about.
Huge.
But it's just that is a sweet show. Sweet show. Anyway, first thing I checked out was something that I remember Mitch was telling me a long time ago to watch, and I finally decided to, which is 2008's, based on Clive Barker's Books of Blood, The Midnight Meat Train.
Oh. Yeah, so the Bradley Cooper vehicle.
Yeah, and I'm scared to even try and pronounce the director's name. Ryuhei Kitamura?
Oh yeah, Ryu Kitamura. Yeah, he did what the hell? Other people really like his movies.
He has his own style. I will definitely say that much.
There's a Korean style to his filmmaking.
It's definitely in how the action plays out. I think
and the violence.
Story is so odd, but I loved the ending. I was not expecting that ending at all.
Man, I can't believe. Of course, I believe that, but I'm happy you liked it. I hated the ending of that movie.
No, I think that this was an interesting. I don't think I would ever watch this again. It was interesting, and it felt very much like you don't see anything that really comes out looking like this entirely. Like this is kind of that weird like the Matrix Reloaded had came out kind of deal.
It's got that style of that glossy style of action. I know what you mean, but it's also got Vinnie Jones from Snatch. Debatably also, the only good Guy Ritchie movie. I'm sorry.
Fair. Well, honestly, that's fair.
No, that guy's made some good stuff.
Yeah, no, he has. Buzi, you got me that DVD of Rock and Rolla, and that was good.
Did you actually watch it eventually?
Yes. Yeah. I totally did. Courtney loves that movie.
So, like, give me the facts on this one, Buzi.
It's the best.
Bradley Cooper.
It's the best pizza at 13 Pies, if you want to know.
Right.
13 Pies, the Midnight Meat Train. Get it with white sauce.
It's a good pie.
Beautiful.
Right, which is like kind of a shame that it's named after that, because it is not an amazing film. It's very odd, but I totally get it because there's meat everywhere in that fucking movie. All it is just meat. Right. It's like kind of like watching a video game that somebody turned into a movie and Bradley Cooper just happens to be in there, and they really throw the story at the wall, and you just kind of have to deal with the fact that it makes no sense.
Yeah.
I don't trust Bradley Cooper. I just got to be honest.
I've been coming around
like how
on him.
I don't trust The Rock kind of deal? Like there's something below the surface?
Exactly like that. It's exactly like that.
He's too nice. That's what it is.
But let's be Silver Linings Playbook? Are you kidding me?
That's all I like that movie a lot. Don't get me wrong, but that's
American Hustle is one of my. I love David O. Russell. You don't like American Hustle?
Nah, babe.
Give it a couple more years. Yeah, I'm sure you'll be able to understand it.
Ooh.
I think the exact opposite. I remember this is one of those movies. I don't want to get on a huge tangent, but that to me is like good at the time, not going to be good in a couple of years. And I've watched it since, and it's a fact.
I entirely disagree. I own that movie. I've watched it recently. I love that movie. It is such a good movie.
Mr. Cooper gives me the heebie-jeebies. That's all I got to say.
Do you prefer him as a raccoon?
Yeah,
I think I prefer anybody as a raccoon, honestly.
I guess so.
Well, he's what's the fucking Rocket Raccoon in Guardians of the Galaxy?
I've never seen it, but I think I would like him more.
Shut the fuck. You've never seen Guardians of the Galaxy?
Even I've seen Guardians of the Galaxy, Kyle. Come on.
I haven't seen it, but I feel like I have because I've seen so much about it.
Dude, it's so good. Both of them are amazing. That blows my mind.
I have nothing against it. I just haven't seen it. I totally believe that.
Jesus. Prioritize, Kyle.
But just to be clear, I haven't seen it yet. I would still prefer Bradley Cooper as a raccoon. I need to make that note.
Yeah. All right, so Midnight Meat Train. That sounds like a pretty lukewarm review from Buzi.
I mean, I guess if you're into action violence, then that's going to be your thing. But other than that, there's not
CGI violence. Heavily CGI violence.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just not really my thing. Like Ryu Kitamura, he made another one that came out a couple of years ago that was on Shudder. I think it was called Downrange. Does that sound familiar? It was like about a sniper.
That's right.
Yeah, I watched that.
Yeah. He did Downrange. He did No One Lives, which is a movie that a lot of people like that I thought was trash. Godzilla Final Wars. Sky High, but not the Kurt Russell one.
Oh, God. Boring.
Just some other one.
Yeah. Either way.
Sky High. That's funny. Oh, it came up before it, to be fair.
Yeah, 2003. Cool. All right. Kyle, do you have anything else or just Black Bear for today?
That's all I really have. I will just throw a quick honorable mention, though, that again, not really horror, but has horror, like, shocking elements to it, in my opinion. And I really just want to give this movie a plug, and that's Promising Young Woman. I would highly recommend checking that out.
Yeah, I'm watching it this weekend. I've heard great things.
I would loop it into sort of a similar, like, horror adjacent feeling that Black Bear has. But I won't spend too much time talking about it other than just definitely check that film out. It's really good. Has something really interesting. It presents something we've all talked about a lot in a really interesting way. So definitely check that one out.
Sweet. That'll be this weekend. All right, I guess I'll knock one off. I just have two today.
Whoa.
Yeah, I've been busy, man.
Whoa.
Your boy has been busy, but also I watched movies that weren't horror movies. Courtney and I watched all the Indiana Jones movies. Holy fuck, you guys. I had never made it through Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Yeah, what's it like?
What's the end? What's that like?
It is I don't understand how anyone can defend that thing. I know that for the most part people don't like it, but holy fuck, that is a pile of garbage. Oh my god, that movie was so bad. And it sucked because the first three are amazing. I love all three Indiana Jones movies, including Temple of Doom. Temple of Doom is bonkers. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to James Mangold's version of Indiana Jones. I think that's going to be awesome.
I never got around
they
to
doing
watching.
new ones now?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I haven't been keeping up with it too much, but I'm pretty sure it's still Harrison Ford.
It is.
Okay. They're not doing like a whole new Indiana Jones now.
I think there was a rumor that Chris Pratt is going to be taking over Indiana Jones, and yeah, that would like as much as I like Chris Pratt, but like we've got Chris Pratt overload. Exactly. Yeah, it's too much.
I like give the guy a break for a year or two. Then
not only
then
not only that, but give someone else that role. Give someone else a role. Like he gets everything.
Yeah.
Let's get Guilfoyle from Silicon Valley.
Is that? Are you talking about Martin Starr?
Yeah, let's get him some roles.
Okay.
Wait, hold on. Is he a bad guy?
I would love to see Martin Starr as Indiana Jones.
That'd be sick.
That'd be great. All right, well, I'm going to talk about a movie that was given to me for Christmas from my boss. So that is Peter. I'm going to start off with, this is the director, Peter Weir. Weir? He's an Australian filmmaker. You might know him as the director of The Truman Show, Dead Poets Society, Master and Commander, Witness, and The Year of Living Dangerously. But what some people know him as is the director of The Plumber. So this is a movie.
So what Mitch knows him as.
Yes.
Well, that's what I know him as. That's for sure.
1978 was the year that this film came out, and it is set around a creepy man who says he's a plumber doing some work in a woman's house, and she just is okay with him coming in and doing work, even though she had no idea. Like, she knows her and her husband didn't call a plumber, but this guy's just going into their house doing some plumbing.
What?
Anyway,
so he's just like, "Hi, I'm here for your house," and she just like accepts that.
Buzi, you would love this movie. I need to lend it.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, and it's a quick hour and 14 minutes. Like, so it's a nice short.
Is it actually an hour and 14?
Yes, it's very short.
I literally have a movie I watched today that was an hour and 14. That's odd.
Hell yeah. But the thing is, so this movie, it's completely ridiculous. This, you can tell, because I know Peter Weir, he co-wrote this. I know I'm probably driving someone crazy, especially Cody Charleston, a man from Australia, listening, because I know Peter Weir. I don't know how to pronounce it.
I'm sure it's got to be Weir.
Yeah,
I think it's Weir, yeah.
Because he's done some amazing movies, but the thing is, this was, you could tell that his strengths, and I think he even knows this, and he learned it, and he carried that forward in his career. His strength is in directing. Like, the movie actually has. It's very competently directed, and he does try to generate some like genuine tension, and you can tell that the man and the actors in this movie are talented, but the writing just turns this movie into a parody. Like, it's also missing an ending. There's like pretty much no ending to this movie. It's abrupt but hilarious, and I had a blast watching it. So if you can get a hold of The Plumber, it is great. And if you ever want to know how a plumber works, this is exactly how he does it. Like, I don't know if you guys saw my Instagram story. I was just having such a good time watching it, because like, he goes into the bathroom. He doesn't have a tape measure or anything. He just puts a big X on the wall and he starts knocking it down with a fucking hatchet. He's just destroying her bathroom. Oh man, it is so funny. Like, it is. I was busting a gut laughing. So I had a lot of fun watching The Plumber, and I highly recommend it. It is a horror thriller. It's definitely more on the thriller side, I'd say, but it's got some very
Did you feel any horror? Did you feel suspense at any time?
Yeah, to be fair, I think if I were to see it when it came out, I would feel it more, but I could see genuine attempts at horror intention, and I think that it probably worked for some people. The thing is, it's just such a ridiculous concept that, like, I don't know how you cannot not laugh at it.
So did he say he was was he an apprentice? Did he tell them what level he was at?
No, he just came in and said, "Hey, plumber here."
Okay.
That's my Australian accent.
Plumber here.
But yeah, so that was The Plumber. Check it out if you want. It's fun.
Okay.
This thing would be ripe for Tubi. I'm
it sounds
sure
like it's
somehow get on there.
Yeah.
I tried to be, guys, but then I ended up watching that one fucking like incel Christmas movie, and it just didn't work.
What a weird hill for you to die on, honestly.
Yeah.
Out of all the
I don't
Kyle
know.
One thing that I like about that, though, is I received direct messages from a couple people who are like, Kyle's stance on that is insane.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'll
See,
yeah,
no
I'll
one
die on that
direct
hill.
messaged Kyle because no one wanted
Especially
to
the
talk
man
about it.
who, like, I'm pretty sure, like, you've watched some of the most problematic movies there are. Are you not a fucking Von Trier fan?
Yeah, I fuck hard with Von Trier, my
Okay,
boy.
we can't get into this. Your opinion on Better Watch Out is dumb. Let's continue.
Dude,
Wow.
that movie's dumb. That's all I gotta say.
Buzi, what else did you dig up on Tubi?
Oh, guys. I got, you guys only got I think I brought the most this week. Very exciting for me.
The Heat.
All right.
The Heat.
So, checked out another 2020 movie to see if maybe for some reason, it could have made my list. So I checked out Monstrous. I'm sure you guys, like Mitch, I'm sure you've probably seen the cover for it on the thing. It's one of the million Sasquatch movies that honestly at this point plague Tubi. But I'm going to give props where props is due. This is directed by Bruce Wemple, and it looks fairly clean. It's a weird ass movie, and I also want to give big props to the fact that they paid for a suit. If you want to see a Sasquatch movie, there's a Sasquatch in this movie, and it's at least 10 feet tall. It's the biggest Sasquatch I've ever seen. I'm very impressed by that. I am sure that this guy has a bright future. There are certain parts of this movie that make no sense because halfway through it became another film. But that's totally fine because there were some cool Sasquatch moments. It was probably like a 1.5 on Tubi, maybe a 2. That's okay, right? Like,
wait, that's the Tubi rating, or that's your rating?
Yeah, that's like my Tubi rating.
Out of 5?
Yeah. Like,
in no world or situation is a 1.5 out of 5 a good rating.
Well, in the Tubi situation, I think that checks out.
For a 2020 Tubi movie, I am not expecting...
2020 Tubi? I can't wait for next year.
Yeah. Dropping the heat on Tubi.
All right, so that was Monstrous.
Yeah.
That one has kind of a cool poster.
Honestly, it doesn't have terrible reviews.
Well, it's 3.4 on IMDb, but I don't really check IMDb for things.
Buzi, I like too good for Sasquatch movies.
I think your system is just different. It's not that it's bad. It's just different. It's different, and that's okay.
Cool. All right, so that was Monstrous. I'll knock off my last one, and it was a film that Buzi talked about, I believe, on our last episode. I checked out Shortcut, another film from 2020. Yeah, so it's a low budget creature feature. I think the film itself looks good. It's about a group of kids who are on a bus and they're on a field trip, and they encounter a creature on the road, and there's some fuckery afoot. There's some definite fuckery.
There's definite fuckery.
Yeah, what I will say about it is I think the monster in the movie is pretty damn cool. I'm a big fan of I like these low budget monster flicks that just toss a man in a suit. I've always been a man in a suit guy ever since Alien. And I would say this movie has a similar vibe to Eduardo Sanchez's Altered, even though I was a much bigger fan of Altered. I just appreciated what this filmmaker was going for, and I always like seeing people attempt to make low-budget creature movies. It's one of my dreams to one day make a creature feature, so I'll always be drawn to these low-budget projects that just have they have limited resources and they're trying to make something neat out of it. You could definitely feel the budget just in the sense that it's a very small movie. There's not a lot of traffic throughout the film. It's really just this group of kids who happen to be quite annoying, but I think that's kind of standard in these types of movies. The characters are always annoying. But Shortcut, it wasn't bad, but I think it's getting beat up online pretty bad, and I think people.
Why? What a weird.
You gotta check your expectations at the door. When you're going into a movie like this, I don't know what you're expecting. So it annoys me when people watch movies like this and then they go, "Oh, it's terrible, half star," and it's just you wouldn't have you went into this movie knowing you weren't gonna like it. So I don't know.
Honestly, they big props to them for having the practical effects and at least trying to make a story. You know what I mean? They didn't just throw people in the middle of nowhere and didn't give any context of a story. They at least tried something. So I really did appreciate that. I thought some of the kills were cool.
Yeah, the kills were cool, and the I didn't like the fat kid. There's like that fat kid trope where he's always just annoying and screaming and stuff, and
he's always randomly hungry too. It's like, why do you need this as a character trait? Like, this guy can not be hungry for a while.
Yeah, he's always eating. That's that's been a trope for so long. It's like, what other? Oh yeah, we watched Richie Rich the other day, and it's like it's the same thing. The kid is so similar to that, where it's like, why is he always eating? Like, we get it. He's the big kid, but like,
do you think it's like written by people who have never met somebody who's like overweight? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like they don't understand
people low-key fat shaming.
I think they need to show the audience, he eats a lot. Otherwise, maybe it's
right.
It's makeup, but now we know.
That is his character. He eats. You guys, try and keep up.
Yeah, tropes,
But yeah, shortcut. I'd recommend it if you're a fan of those low-budget creature features. It's not going to blow your socks off by any means, but I think as a little independent creature feature, it was pretty cool.
I'm glad you checked it out.
Yeah, no, it intrigued me when you were talking about it, so had to do it to him. But that's everything I got. So, I'm gonna give one last quick shout out though, because it's not horror at all. But if you're not watching Cobra Kai, I don't know what to tell you. This thing is the most enjoyable and fluffy as it gets. Third season, I just finished it this week, and I don't know. It somehow has the best character development I've maybe seen since Breaking Bad or Mad Men, and I'm talking about Cobra Kai. It's the character development is unbelievable in the show. It's super corny. It's a sequel to the Karate Kid. You do not need to see the Karate Kid films to watch this show. They catch you up on they'll do flashbacks from the movies to catch people up. Like, I know Courtney wasn't familiar with them and she was still really enjoying it, but everyone's praising Cobra Kai right now, and I'm just here to throw my hat in. I've been loving it ever since season 1, and the ending of season 3 just had me so goddamn jacked up. I was so excited. I cannot wait. They're talking about how they have 6 seasons planned. Give it to me, baby. Give me all of them. That's Cobra Kai. Buzi, what else have you checked out?
Guys, I have some cream of the crop right here for you. And
oh no.
Oh, I can't believe this exists and I've never heard of it. So this is from 2015. This is a Will Ferrell and Kristen Wiig vehicle known as A Deadly Adoption.
Oh my God. I think this was the one where they tried shelving it forever.
Yeah.
It's on Tubi, is it not?
Yes. I was trying to find out about this. I guess whoever directed it is like somebody that Will Ferrell discovered and gave them an opportunity to direct. And it's like a Lifetime movie, but it's a horror black comedy. It is so strange. It is so strange.
Insane.
What's it called again? Sorry.
It's called A Deadly Adoption, and I'm pretty sure Will Ferrell's wearing the worst wig like the entire time. And there's at least 2 dance numbers in this to like what would it be, like royalty-free music, and it's really awkward.
What's crazy is I haven't seen this movie, and it does not look good.
No.
But I would say that there's a fair chance that this is the better Kristen Wiig movie out of this and Wonder Woman 1984.
Wow, roasted. Huge roast.
Yeah, boom, roasted.
Right.
Interesting. The director of this recently made a film called Unpregnant that came out last year, which actually a lot of people seem to enjoy.
Really?
So that's interesting.
Oh, yeah. I've heard great things about Unpregnant.
But
this was her first thing, and it was interesting. Let's just say that.
This is really interesting. I'm gonna.
Dude, I've tried. I actually rewound it because I had to try and figure out what the ending was because it made no sense to me.
Well, it is. Yeah, it does say it is a TV movie. So it is a Lifetime movie. You're right.
It's just so odd. It exists in its own little bubble of being weird. And Will Ferrell being in it is just the cherry on top. It is so strange.
Yeah. And I kind of want
a peep game.
I'm still rooting for Will Ferrell. I'm just going to put it that way.
You won't be after watching this.
Well, fair. But I think things aren't looking so hot for him, but I'm still rooting.
Holy fuck. I got 6 minutes into Holmes and Watson.
Yeah, that's a bad one.
Oh
That's a
boy!
real bad.
Didn't you actually see it in the theater?
I watched it in the theater. Yes, I did. Yeah.
Kyle,
Yeah,
you like gave it the $12 it made back. You were $8 of the
It was a
dollars.
actually, that was one of the weirdest like movie theater experiences I've ever had because it was completely packed around Christmas time. I didn't even Christmas Day, honestly, and there was
You ruined
no
Christmas Day by going to this.
It's just
no
it's
laughter.
It's crazy that it's written by the guy who wrote Idiocracy. And
it has. There's a great video on YouTube. I forget who it's by, and he talks like they break down the whole film. And yeah, it should have been a good movie, but it's god awful, unfortunately.
Yeah, like the cast is pretty great, and like Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly are hilarious together. Like Step Brothers is one of the funniest movies ever, and having Ray Fiennes as one of the villains, like you should be set.
I watched that right after I did a quadruple feature that day, actually. I watched it right after seeing Spider-Verse in the theater. So yeah, it was pretty
bummer.
much, there's no way that felt nearly as good. What can you do?
Spider-Verse, so good. Cool. All right, so it's a Deadly Adoption. What else you got, Buzi?
I checked out. This is an older film, also on Tubi. This is North America's answer to Rodan from 1956. It's The Giant Claw from 1957. And boy, does it not make sense. And also, sexual harassment was just very normal in the 50s, apparently.
Okay, all right.
So I wish I would have saved this one scene so I could show you guys, because I literally had like my jaw on the floor. There was a scene, this woman and guy are sitting on a plane together, and this dude's deep in contemplation, smoking a cigarette. He just literally flicks it out of his hands, turns, grabs her, and starts kissing her. And she's just totally okay with it when she wakes up.
Well, women like that, don't they?
Apparently, but like, it was, I guess what I have to say is traveling has come a long way.
Yeah.
And
I'm looking at pictures of the giant claw, and the creature looks awesome.
It's interesting when they do the real close-ups, and you can kind of see it snarl, but a lot of times it looks kind of like a slinky dick.
I'm going to be real with you. Man, Henson had to have been inspired by this. It looks like a Skeksis from The Dark Crystal.
Oh,
like
totally.
It totally looks like one of those.
But I do have to say... Okay, go ahead, Kyle.
I was just going to say, you know how like, in the past we've talked about like watching like older films or like black and white films or whatever, and how we like, when we watch like one we really like, we're like pleasantly surprised because for some reason we have this like preconceived notion that like if it's before 1970, then maybe it's boring or bad, which is just not true. This, from what I'm looking at, is actually that preconceived notion. This is what I imagine. Like, this is what I imagine I'm not going to enjoy.
Okay,
and this looks like something I would like.
It was pretty fun, and this was the movie that was an hour and 14 that I had mentioned, because I was like, it's a tight hour and 14.
That is in its favor. That is in its favor.
It very much so. They definitely this thing is probably the most annoying giant creature attacking New York you'll ever hear, because it has one sound and it does it about 1 million times.
Can I guess? Is it caw, caw?
Yes.
Okay,
the entire
no, because it looks like one of the fucking ostriches things from Donkey Kong Country.
I totally
like the one that wants to go.
Okay, so I just want to give a quick preview of the kind of movie you're in store for, Mitch, if you choose to watch this movie. A giant creature who they spend most of the movie trying to explain that it is a bird but an alien, but also it just reverts back to being a bird, so you can just kill it as a bird, so there's really no point in it being an alien. So you got that. It is going to systematically pick off every single person in New York. That's literally its plan, and the government's response is to do martial law.
Oh.
Ooh.
Okay.
It makes
in the kitchen and it's tasty?
In the kitchen, and it is definitely tasty. What an odd fucking movie. But definitely, if you want to check it out, there's lots of cawing. And a group of teenagers who are driving erratically and drinking get murdered because of it, because they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Okay.
That made me feel great.
There's that.
That hits close to Saskatchewan.
It really does. Yeah, it really does.
Okay. All right. Well, is that everything you got, Buzi?
No, I got one more.
Okay. Hell yeah.
Are you guys ready? Do you guys like Kane Hodder?
Yeah. Of course I like Kane Hodder, but fuck, has he done a lot of bad movies that aren't Friday the 13th?
Yeah, could you imagine if Kane Hodder was a giant werewolf who also had an exoskeleton metal suit that goes by the name Project Metal Beast from
Is that what
1995?
Is that what the movie's called? Project Metal Beast?
Hell yeah,
It's a cool name. It's a cool name.
Guys, you need to check out the art for this thing. The special effects is so cool. This is such a weird little piece of mid-90s monster movies. I think, Mitch, you'd really enjoy this movie. There's not a lot of story. There's just a fucking werewolf that has titanium and kicks ass.
Yeah, I'm kind of into it. I love the tagline. It's not as good as Mom, former tagline. I think that wins the best tagline of of Earth. But they wanted a soldier as hard as steel. They created a creature that could not be destroyed.
But like, so cool. And it kind of looks like Predator almost.
Sick.
It's like werewolf looking Predator. I think you would definitely enjoy it. It's goofy and funny, and there's some kind of cool kills.
Yeah, I'm always down to check out some of Kane Hodder's other films. But yeah, there's a couple posters on here that look pretty cool.
Right? I think there's some great stuff on Tubi. Like I said, I've been raccooning my way through, and there's still some good stuff in there.
Hell yeah.
There's still some half-eaten pizza, you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely. Some used condoms at the bottom there sometimes too.
Delicious.
All right, let's get on to our main feature. So we'll be right back after this brief message from I don't know. We'll see you guys on the other side.
Hi.
Hi. So what are you running from?
Running.
Well, this place looks haunted.
I'm writing.
Oh, really? Me too. So what are you working on?
It's kind of a revenge story about werewolves. You written anything I've read? Or?
I just wrote a book called Venus.
You wrote Venus. You're a best-selling author.
I'm so sorry. This road is actually only for best-selling authors, so I might kick you out.
You're not so great. Huh.
Your power outage. I'm bored. Let's tell each other scary stories.
Half cheese, half veggie, right?
You seem like a fella who might be interested in some scary stories.
And you seem correct.
Hit me, Scare Master.
So, there's this little boy. You hear something.
Gasp.
This is the part in the story where the creepy strings kick in. Everything goes into slow motion.
Jesus Christ, dude.
It's a good story, right?
It's just been done like, I don't know, 600 or 700 times.
Just because you're the best-selling author doesn't mean you get to school me on the story.
Actually, yes, it does.
Look at you! You are emasculated!
I'm going to get you.
Run, Jason!
No witnesses! Do one about dead babies. Like an army of them? You know, they got like little baby heads. They just like, we don't want bottles, we want blood, you know?
Fred, what are you doing with that poker? Is this part of the story?
And welcome to our main feature presentation, in which we're going to be talking about the 2020 film Scare Me, which is now available on Shudder. I believe it's available on Shudder in all countries, so everyone has a chance to check this one out. It is written and directed by Josh Rubin, and it's starring Josh Rubin as Fred, Aya Cash as Fanny, and Chris Redd as Carlo. Those are the main characters. We also have Rebecca Drysdale, who plays Bettina, and Lauren Sick, the bookstore employee. So like it's a very tight little small independent film.
It tells a small little story that with minimal characters.
Exactly. So the synopsis of this one is: during a power outage, two strangers tell scary stories. The more Fred and Fanny commit to their tales, the more the stories come to life in their Catskills cabin. The horrors of reality manifest when Fred confronts his ultimate fear. So we're going to get all into this thing and talking about what we thought of it and what we took away from it. But let's start off with Big L's thoughts on Scare Me. So this one's coming from our boy Elio, all the way from New York City.
Wow.
New York City!
The Windy City, the Big Apple.
What do they say? What's up, everyone? Welcome to New York. This is Saturday Night Live.
Wait, is the Windy City Chicago?
Windy Shitty. Yeah, Windy. Wow, Windy
The
Shitty.
Windy Shitty.
I was watching that South Park episode, Shitty Walk. But Chicago's the Windy City. I have a homie that just moved home from Chicago. He was there for the entire Trump term.
Oh,
It was
fun.
He was only there for that, and that's why I feel so bad for him. Because
he's a big fan, hey?
Kyle,
No,
I just want to ask.
Totally not.
Your work. Do you think the security is better at your job than at the Capitol building?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt, yeah.
100%. I've seen Shoppers Drug Marts that are more well defended.
Man,
That's a fact. That's a fact.
We're gonna not talk about politics, but the only thing I want to say is how badly I feel for Jude Dawkins right now. Because like on his Facebook, everyone was like, "Is this you? Is this you?" Because that idiot was wearing like a bear suit.
Oh man,
I hope
we're sorry, buddy.
Just ruin this dude's gimmick. Yeah,
I hope
big virtual hug.
I hope he can make it through this and continue with his shtick, because it is awesome. I love Jude Dawkins and I love Cheetah Bear.
Cheetah Bear.
Yeah, he's awesome, but it is just super unfortunate. We're talking about a friend who's a professional wrestler who dresses up as a half man, half bear, and his suit has some similarities to that dipshit in the Capitol. Let's stop talking about that though. Let's no more politics. This is from Big L. I'm going to call him that forever because I like that.
I like that. That's a sweet name. Big L coming in hot.
Hi, Terror Table. I hope you are all well. So let's get right down to it. I honestly thought this movie was pretty good up until the end. First off, I loved the acting. Honestly, all 4 actors in this movie were fantastic. Aya Cash is perfect and seriously held this movie down. I thought that both her and Josh Rubin were excellent and held the movie together. They kept it super captivating for a movie that is basically just a spooky podcast taking place in a cabin. My main complaint is I thought it all sort of fell apart in the end. I love the final idea of the Uber driver stealing the book ideas, but I thought the whole sequence between Josh Rubin and Aya Cash was a little all over the place. All in all, I had a lot of fun with this movie, and I thought about it a lot since I saw it back in October. This was definitely different and gave me some after midnight vibes. I think a fun watch for sure. Also, please more Buzi trying to eat a whole Subway sandwich content. Thank you.
Oh, wow.
So, Buzi, you're going to have to deep throat a Subway sandwich again soon.
For the gram again.
You got to at least try again, because last time, man, I don't know.
You know what? I don't see you guys pulling up with sandwiches like that.
Fuck, fine. Next time I'll go straight 12.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah, next time I'm going with a foot long, and I'm going to get that thing all the way down to my belly.
Well, good. Let's live stream it.
Yeah, so Josh Rubin, he has a massive body of work. He's done tons of shorts, TV appearances, including 2 episodes of Pokemon, which he played Lewis.
Brought that up. Yes.
I don't know who Lewis is, but he voiced
Kyle
him.
knows.
Kyle, are you familiar with Lewis on Pokemon?
I got to be honest, I'm not totally familiar with Lewis from
this is
stopping
your
the
moment
rage
to
of...
shine.
I mean, this is 2011 Pokemon, so admittedly,
Fair.
I haven't really seen the show since maybe 2001.
Yeah,
so,
and I think it would be a bigger issue if you did know about 2011 Pokemon.
I don't know. Whatever, man. Watch what you want to watch. I have not seen Stopping the Rage of Legends parts 1 and 2, though, unfortunately. But huge shout out to our boy Josh Rubin. He was also in that show or the film Greener Grass. Did you guys see that?
Oh yes, okay, that's
Which
where
played at the festival.
Man, Greener Grass is fucking amazing. It is such a funny movie. It's one of my favorite modern comedies.
Yeah, that played at the Fantastic Film Fest 2 years ago.
Yeah,
shout out to Fantastic Film Fest.
That's one of those ones.
My brain, trying to remember where I had seen Josh Rubin from, and that was exactly it. It was Greener Grass.
Thank you for. Oh my God, yeah, I swim. I'm looking at. He was the swim coach. I swam past that. I was wondering. I was like, where do I know this guy from? Because like the moment he came on screen, I was like, I like him. Like I was excited just knowing that he's in it. Also, I'm a huge fan of The Boys. I think Kyle, are you caught up now?
I fucking love The Boys. Great show. Yeah,
it's so good. So you're caught up on how Aya Cash plays Stormfront?
Honestly, in a way, it was kind of distracting because I could only think of Stormfront a little bit in this film, at least for the first half, in some ways, just because it's the way the way she carries herself. It felt so sinister in a really similar way. Not as crazy as Stormfront, but if you've seen that show, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I will admit that The Boys was my first time experiencing Aya Cash, and she does such a great job at being hateable and not she's not a likable character. But I know that she's been she's been getting a lot of praise. I've been reading articles that people are talking about her, and I think she's about to blow up big. And I think Scare Me is another one of those examples that people are going to use when it comes to her depth as an actor. And so this movie, let's just get into it, guys. I don't know what you guys thought about it, but I watched this on Shudder. It was about a week ago. And these two, Josh Rubin and Aya Cash, they got charisma coming out the wazoo.
I feel like I could have watched 3 hours of them just telling me stories.
Yeah, man. Okay, well, I think that means you liked it, but I really enjoyed this movie. I thought that it was just a really clever and interesting independent horror movie, and it was another one of those examples where it's a one location, a small cast, and it's just really tight writing. But the writing would not. That's why I like that. Knowing I didn't know going into the movie that Josh Rubin also wrote and directed it, so it made a lot of sense because I was like, man, talk about in theoreticals, I was thinking this writer must have been just stoked when they found this guy to play this role, because I don't know, he just seems like no one else could pull this off because he's just got so much charisma and he's such a wacky character.
It doesn't feel like he's acting at any point. It's like he's just telling you guys as it is, as it's coming out of his head.
Yeah. So this is likely going to be a little bit of a shorter main feature because there isn't a whole lot to talk about, but that doesn't mean that it's not a great movie or it's just one of those, it's a very small story. So there's only so many places we can go with it. But I thought it was just like Buzi said, I could have just watched 3 hours of those two talking. The time of this movie, the running time just flew by. Because I was so invested in listening to them and getting to know them as characters. And I thought that they were really fun to watch. And not to mention, Chris Redd? Is that? Yeah, I think I just said his name. He was in Popstar.
He was Hunter the Hungry.
Yeah, Hunter the Hungry.
Which Popstar was actually a fairly solid.
Oh, that's a great movie.
Popstar. I was just talking about this today because my boss still hasn't seen it and he would love it. But Popstar is one of the best modern comedies because it's it's honestly funnier than Hot Rod. Yeah, I know. It bombed, which is just.
But it's developed a cult following. Before the pandemic and everything, it got re-released in theaters because it had started gaining steam again. 3 years later.
There's so many amazing moments in that movie, but one of my favorite things is the Mona Lisa being an overrated piece of shit. It's just that speaks right to my sense of humor. Mona Lisa. Oh god, it's so good. I'm gonna watch Popstar again this weekend. Love that movie. Popstar would be a good double feature with Scare Me though, honestly, because it kind of has a similar energy.
I could see that.
I could definitely see that.
It's definitely, this is just a really tight little comedy horror, and I liked it much more than I thought I was going to because I was like, Aya Cash, I know everyone likes her, but she honestly was the reason why I didn't watch it before the end of the year because I was like, she was so good in The Boys that I just didn't want to see her anymore. But I'm happy that this could wipe my palate clean. And obviously any intelligent audience member should know she's playing a character. If she was unlikable in a villainous role, that's a good thing. So I thought she was really, really good in this movie. And I just don't know if this type of story could, hold an audience's attention for an hour and a half with two characters that aren't this interesting. It just really helped having them be so interesting.
I think they worked in that regard, throughout the whole film, honestly, because I felt the same way, Mitch, to an extent. Not exactly how you were saying, because you said you were kind of nervous to see her in something else just because you were so familiar with her role in The Boys. And I felt the same way. And especially near the beginning of the film when she's first introduced, I was like, okay, kind of a smart ass, kind of sort of, I don't know, just intimidating and very opinionated or however you want to say it. But what really sold it for me, like her performance as a whole, is actually near the end of the film where she's a bit more reserved, a bit more like vulnerable,
not
and
as self-confident.
Yeah, she's so confident.
It's not even necessarily that. I guess that along with like just showing range, like not that like okay, like that's not just her shtick. That's just not her thing, you know. She has kind of more to. And I've also seen her in Easy, and she's a bit more like it's a TV series, a Netflix series called Easy. Not horror related in any way, but she's great in that show as well. And I had to go back to see her in there because I had forgot she was even in that show actually. But it's reminding me again, like what kind of a powerhouse performance she kind of can give. And I think this film does a good job of showing different sides of her, because even though she is like insufferable in some ways in The Boys, you don't really get that here. You to an extent, maybe like you can see obviously like a little bit, but this film does a really good job of just showing her being like, okay, maybe, you know, intimidated, like a know-it-all type character to an extent, but it feels a lot more earned and like justified in this film. And as the film goes on, you kind of understand why. And it actually kind of sells it to me going on. Because when we're first introduced to her, I more so was like kind of like, I don't know, sort of on Fred's side to some extent. Like, okay, like this hotshot writer, like who is she? But as the film progresses, it's more like, oh, well, like, she's like a hot shot for a reason, you know, like
yeah.
It's like, funny is she kind of spills some general truths, I guess, that
absolutely she does.
That you don't always like to think about. Is it's not always whoever is the most talented. It can be a very like dog eat dog scenario.
Yeah.
Well, it's not even that actually. I think she like I don't know how much spoiler we want to give in. This isn't necessarily a spoiler, but there's a part of the film where she just says like, well, like, do something, like if you want to be successful, do it, like go and do it, stop pouting, which I mean is those are harsh words, and like sometimes that's not what you want to hear when you're like, you know, trying to work through shit, but at the same time that is what you need to hear sometimes. So it's really important to have that. And that was like my first note I wrote about this film, was just that it was like shockingly real. Like
yeah.
And in a lot of ways
it peel a lot of those layers back.
Well, and it's especially funny too because the film is very imaginative, and it's all about like that human conversation and how like you can almost like childlike whimsy in a way, right? But
it feels like a sleepover telling scary stories, but with two adults who are professional writers.
I gotta say, I have to give a knock. Like, I gotta give a knock to Letterboxd. They kind of fucked me on this one a little bit.
What do you mean, Letterboxd of all things?
I read the synopsis for this film, and it actually kind of threw me off for the film because I was expecting, like, I don't want to spoil anything, but I was expecting something else to occur because of the synopsis. And I was kind of
let down.
That I was necessarily I wouldn't say I was let down, but I was kind of waiting for that turn to be taken. And since it wasn't ever taken, when the film kind of came to its, you know, the last act, I wasn't let down, but I think if I were to watch it again, I would almost be experiencing that last act in a different way for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean, because if there is a negative to this movie that I could give, I think I would have to agree with Elio a little bit. Like, it does fall apart just a little bit for me at the end. But at the same time, I do kind of like the abruptness of it in a sense. And I think he got the point across at the end with his assistant driver and everything. Let's just say right now, let's do spoilers from here on out.
Sure.
I think you can kind of put it together that this is definitely not one of those movies that we hated. So
I think this is super imaginative, especially like you have to wonder, you know, when this was all created in terms of like the pandemic happening. Do you know what I mean? Like if it was even filmed before that, because it seems like a movie that would. Because it seems like a movie that would work perfectly if you needed to film that during a pandemic.
Well, I should make a quick shout out because I think I suggested this a way back for like a film for us to watch, and I heard about it. I heard about it from a podcast I listened to called Intercut, and they like do a bunch of like Sundance coverage. And at the end of the year, I was just listening to like a backlog of their episodes, and this is Sundance from like last year, so like in February of 2020, and they had talked really highly about Scare Me. So this premiered like this time last year, more or less. So this is before the pandemic, but had just come to Shudder, I guess, 2-3 months ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another thing that made me more interested in watching it, to have like a full episode on it and have a full main feature, is that like so many of our listeners messaged in their top 10s of the year, and this showed up on multiple lists.
Yeah,
so
and
I wanted
that's
to
definitely
see.
right away. You're like, what's going on?
Yeah, and so the thing's holding an 83% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 71% audience score. So that's pretty damn good for a movie this small, because this is something that, like, if you were to pitch to someone, it's two people telling stories in a room. So many people are out. They're out of it so quickly because
Instantly.
It's like, how is that
Yeah.
going to keep someone's attention? The way that they can keep your attention is two incredible performances. Specifically Josh Rubens. I just like I loved watching him. I thought he was fucking hilarious. And I don't know, I kind of got a little bit of a man crush on him right now because I
think,
want
like,
to see him in everything.
Everything that they did felt so fun to watch, where you had to no other choice but to immerse yourself in the stories that are happening.
Right.
Because the characters are, doing, and there's so many small little scenes that make it interesting as an audience, because you're mostly supposed to visualize in your head what's going on. But I loved when they were doing, was it like the hand puppets, and it looked like those trees in the wind, like stuff like that. It's small levels of immersion like that, or like the werewolf claw I thought was great.
Yeah, it's inventive filmmaking, and I feel like I could be entirely wrong here, but I feel like it's also commenting on unoriginal ideas and how much fun they can be with the right voice. That's something that I took away from it, because Rubens, like Josh Rubin, he kept on every story that he had. Cash would respond, or sorry, Fanny, she would respond with like, yeah, I've never heard that story before. It'd be something sarcastic. And but the thing is, it was his charisma and his storytelling abilities that made they made them the highlights of the film. Like, specifically when he's running up the stairs and he's channeling like kind of like one of the things I loved so much about it is it reminded me a little bit of Bruce Campbell in the like overacting, but intentionally overacting. And that's just something that I've always been drawn to, those types of wacky, crazy out there performances. Right. So it kind of just won me over right there. And
I could see that. Yeah.
I love his little there's like little Jack impressions that he does, like his Jack Torrance impressions he does.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's stuff like that to sprinkle stuff like that in to make you question later on why your character is doing certain things. I thought was a ton of fun to have that like unhinged level to it.
Totally.
Well, and it's a character that's completely uncomfortable with failure, right? Like he can't handle failure, so therefore he hasn't like really learned from anything yet.
Well,
so
totally.
Anything that he's written or anything that he's come up with in his mind is perfect, and he's not really open to criticism or input. And so that's kind of where like that spark is. I think it's really, really well in that way. Especially in like a modern setting, in the sense that like everything now is like popular culture from the 80s and 90s, early 2000s, and we're almost getting close to like talking about post Stranger Things or post things that are directly referencing or inspired by them. And so like this movie kind of only makes sense like in 2020, not that it's like gonna date itself, but like it's interesting because you couldn't really write a script like this until now, and there's so many like little quips and references that are absolutely made for horror fans. Like, man, I thought of you, Mitch. There's a Jaws and Misery reference in this film. Yep. Like that is
totally. What about their Crypt Keeper impressions? Their Crypt Keeper impressions were fucking hilarious.
Both of them did so well. Yep. Also, 100 points for mentioning Laurie Strode.
Yep.
Like there was, and saying his favorite movie, which I 100% believe is Jaws. 100% in real life. It was like this totally fits.
Yep, he's speaking my language there, and it's a really well executed and clever like indie horror comedy. But like the thing that made it so awesome too is all the things that they beefed the movie up with. Specifically, the sound effects during the storytelling.
Oh yeah,
I thought that was amazing, and it was super clever to do that. And then also I don't know if you guys can remember this part, but they make it really engaging listening to them just tell stories by using the dolly to kind of zoom in on their slowly zoom in on their faces.
They even tell themselves to do it at one point. Yeah. They're like, "This is where I would do this in the film," and then they're doing it.
Yeah, they're like, "This is where the dolly would push forward."
Also, how did you guys feel about the dynamic when they added Chris Redd? Because I loved it. He was such a cannonball character that you did not I didn't feel like I expected a lot of his moves. The way he interacted with everybody, it was like he was kind of a dick, but he was sincere, but he was really funny.
Well, I mean, he was also in fans of Better Watch Out film, The Joker. He was in that. So he was
The
a comedy
Joker.
club MC, you know.
Yeah, he's so funny. But also, you put Chris Red and Aya Cash doing Blow, you got my attention.
Also, I just want to say that was the most. If you ever want to wonder what like the dynamic of the terror table is, that was it right there.
Totally.
Oh.
Yeah. I would love to get this guy on the show if he would be interested in coming on, because I just feel like he's someone who like the movie, it reminded me of something like, and that's the highest form of flattery to me, is that like this is something that Buzi and I would do, or like we would just like, this is like our style of bullshitting with each other and like being goofy and wacky, and like this movie
Just being a
channels
couple
all
of
that
silly billies, you know.
Well, it channels the energy that I'm on that level. Like I'm on the level of this movie, and it really worked for me.
Well, it has that like, I guess like childlike nature, but it commits to it in a way where it can pull it off. But it's not that it's like some like man-child, like set in like the past type shit. You know, it's not necessarily that, or it's not that the characters are like unintelligent either. It's actually quite specific. Like I don't know if I've really seen anything else exactly like it, and that's kind of why I said it like could only really be made now. I feel like it's like so after like popular culture that you can like sort of absorb something like this. Almost the only thing I could think of otherwise would be something like Are You Afraid of the Dark? Like that's the first thing I could think of otherwise.
Oh,
this
dude,
just kind of
with the
felt more,
flashlight
like,
on the face,
refreshed. Yeah, exactly.
It's an adult. It's like an adult. Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah, I think the best thing you can say about this is kind of the shit that would like maybe happen with like you and your friends when you were little kids. Is
Totally.
you know, not to the
carried
same
away.
extent, but yeah, but you stay up late and you tell dumbass stories and eat pizza and your stomach hurts. Like it just feels like a
And
grown
you
up
do
version.
cocaine.
Yeah, exactly. That's the grown-up version. That's where we switch your. You know, you don't have the energy to stay up that late anymore. So sometimes you need that.
So
Kyle.
you need some cocaine. Yeah.
Well, fair enough. I mean, sometimes
Cocaine's the new Red Bull.
Sometimes you have, what is it, Dawkin? What was that one guy? Hated? What's his name? Hawken? Oh, God.
Hayden Christensen.
No, what's that one guy that like faked his own album release? You have the CD.
Oh, Threaten.
Threaten. Yeah,
Where
sometimes
are
you
we
need a
getting
Threaten
at with
CD
this?
and a line, you know. Then you need a line, and then you need to maybe do said line on the cover of the Threaten
You
CD.
know what would be crazy is if someone ever did cocaine off of a Threaten CD.
That's where
that
that's
would
where we're
be
getting with
crazy.
it. That would be crazy. Anyway,
Look up
I guess,
Threaten.
like,
if you haven't, if you forgot about the story of Threaten, someone needs to make a movie about that. A man who made his band sound like he was in a big band, and he planned a UK tour. Oh man, it's great. Just look up the articles for Threaten.
Also, can I mention that I swear, listening to when he did his entire werewolf story, that I was like, this is Batman, but with a werewolf.
Yeah. Well, it's
Yeah,
almost.
Johnson.
That's what I love about it. It's like the parents are murdered and he's seeking revenge. It's like, yeah.
And
never
shout
seen
out
that
to Devin the Troll.
Oh,
with
man,
a very
yeah,
contemporary troll name.
Yeah, Devin, I like that.
The more I think about it, I think like I could see the criticism of like the third act sort of like maybe falling apart to an extent, but I actually think, to be honest, the second act is kind of where that happens for me, because I feel like it could have led up to something where that last act felt a bit more like justified, and it kind of glazed over that instead by having like Carlo come into the picture, and it kind of went into like, it took a bit of a left turn almost in a sense, and then went and took another left. But I feel like the second left would have made sense if we just took a first right. If
Reliant K ever taught us one thing, it's two wrong turns don't make a right.
They don't make a right.
Two left, what's it called?
Maybe if she went to the Sadie Hawkins dance with me, we can make sense of it.
In my khaki pants, nothing better.
Oh, fuck Reliant K. Anyway,
absolutely fuck Reliant K. I rediscovered. Did you see that Mood Rings thing? I was listening to our boys David Hopkins. He was on Let's Talk About Stuff, and they were talking about Reliant K. I don't know if you guys need to look up the lyrics for Mood Rings by Reliant K to see the most problematic song ever written by a Christian band. Actually, I'm sure it's much worse. There's much worse out there, but
I'm just gonna say
fucking bad.
Those Christian bands would get away with a lot. Let's be honest.
Oh yeah, just trash.
I guess my last thought on this, for the most part, is I thought it was interesting how they ended up bringing up the power dynamic, like at the end of the film. It's actually one thing I really liked. Like I had kind of made that note while I was watching the film before we even got to that portion of it, where I was like, wow, it's like a really interesting power dynamic, like to the point where it ultimately had to come down to violence. Because before it was just kind of like, fame was the main power dynamic. Mm-hmm. And like one person had fame, one person didn't, one person sort of envied it, the other, sort of maybe held that against the other person to some extent. But eventually that power dynamic like became toxic, right? So I thought, like, I think throughout the film that was definitely like alluded to in a lot of ways. But then when it actually kind of like confronted it, I think that was actually really well thought out in a lot of ways. However, I guess I feel like I think it could have led to that way, or led to that resolution a little bit better. I think I would have enjoyed the film a bit better overall. But yeah, more or less, I thought this was a great flick.
Yeah. One thing I really like about it too is that it has that conversation with the audience about creativity and how authentic and inauthentic it is, and how even the people who think that they're the most brilliant writers out there, they're still pulling inspiration from someone else in some way or another. Right. And it's just a constant evolution of ideas. But then there are also those people who are stuck on those ideas that have been done so many times before, and they think they can get away with just doing it, but better because it's them. And I really like the conversation of like writers' voices and how they interpret their visions compared to make something original. And what you find out in the later end of the movie, the back half, is that there's nothing original about Aya Cash or her or the way that she writes, and she's not above being shitty to other writers to benefit herself, because that's just the way some people make stories.
Yeah, I guess at the same time though, it's like there's always that age-old thing of like, oh, there's only really 7 stories that have ever existed, so like how can you...
It's the same thing with chords on a guitar, like in music.
So it's I don't know, I feel like that's one of those debates that will go on for like the end of time. But I think the film definitely looks at that in an interesting way. I also noticed that this next film that he's making, it's called Werewolves Within.
What?
So there's that. I mean, he's actually making a werewolf film, apparently.
I really there's no way that it's not comedy as well.
I don't know. I don't know anything
comedy
horror.
Yep.
Okay, well, there you go.
Oh, wait. Yeah, it's okay, dude. This is holy shit. Guillermo's in it from What We Do in the Shadows.
What?
Oh, there you go.
Kyle Zeravinsky himself. He's in it.
Well,
yeah, Werewolves Within. It's a feature adaptation of the video game where werewolves attack a medieval town. That's the Werewolf Within. Or wait, no, I don't know. What's the one I'm thinking of?
I've never played this.
I'm thinking.
No, it's literally just called Werewolves Within, but I've never heard of it before. Came out in 2016.
Okay, so yeah, I was getting that mixed up with Wolf Among Us, I think, or Wolves. I don't know what the hell it's called, but
I know.
I'm pretty sure that's an extension on the graphic novel Fables, but I could be wrong. I don't know. Let's talk about what we do know. We do know that this was a blast. It was fun watching this movie. Buzi, you enjoyed this one, it seems like?
I watched it twice. I really enjoyed this movie. I think I can kind of agree where I can see where people are coming from with maybe not liking the third act, but I think it falls under being... It's weird. This movie's like an anthology movie without being one in a weird way. And it's kind of hard to end those kind of films in an interesting way. And I kind of do like the idea of how it, or like what it got to. Maybe if there was a different way to get there, it probably would have like held it together for a lot more people. But I actually thoroughly enjoyed this. And for a movie that makes you pay attention when they go, hey, there's a thing on the roof, but you clearly know that there never is, and it's engaging, I think that speaks volumes to what you're watching.
Yeah, without a doubt. I also I looked it up, and I guess Rubens is credited for 46 episodes of College Humor, which makes total sense. So
there you go.
Yeah, it makes total sense. But I definitely think if you haven't seen this one, this is one that you definitely need to check out. It's not going to be for everyone, but I think if you generally like our banter and our bullshit, you're going to get something out of this movie. It's just a fun little independent horror movie. And I also it's an hour and 45 minutes, and it did not feel like that at all for me.
No, it was very enjoyable.
Yeah, and one last comment about that ending too is that something that I do like about it is that it's kind of a realistic ending. Like it is abrupt and everything, but it's realistic. And that's why I think, when you're watching a movie, some people want something more sensational. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of there's a positive to having something minimal and have it just feel like it's a real gut punch. But yeah, I thought it was a very successful movie. I really enjoyed it. But we can wrap up here, you guys. So everyone gives a thumbs up to Scare Me.
Totally.
Thumbs up.
Hell yeah. Sick. Well, that was a fun episode. We will be back again next week with Buzi and I are going to be doing an episode with a guest who has been on the show once. So will become one of our good buddies. Our friend and director Nicholas Humphreys will be joining us, and we will be talking about Demons. So Dario Argento's presents Demons. So that's going to be a blast. I've been wanting to do this. Yeah, I've been wanting to do this one for a while, and I know that Nicholas he has a sentimental and like a deep-rooted connection with demons. So that's always exciting when you have interesting voices like Nick talking about a movie that is decades old. So I'm very much looking forward to that. So you can check us out just a reminder, check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Send us a message if you want a shirt. Let us know what shirt size you are. We are going to I'm accepting everyone's orders first as far as like the sizes and everything. And then we're going to figure out pricing because obviously we don't know how much this is going to cost us. But obviously the shirts aren't going to be more than $25. So Canadian dollars. So check that out. Give our boy Jambi Lives a follow and thank him for making an awesome Terror Table image.
And check out his band Swayze, who
absolutely
are awesome.
Yeah, Swayze rules. All right, guys, this was a blast, and we'll see you guys next time on the Terror Table. Good night.
Good night.
Or good morning.
Depending where you are, I guess.